Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Real Talk, Real Deals, stories and tips from the real world of sales. This is a podcast where we're talking about how to be successful in selling. This is episode 12, and I'm your host, Andrea Grodnitzky. And I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, Rob Arnold. Rob is the Director for Sales Performance for Data Services in LexisNexis Risk Solutions. And he's here to talk a little bit about how they enhance sales behaviors and performance to drive results. Rob, welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Andrea.
Glad to have you. So, Rob, your title, that was a lot for me to say. I'm wondering if you can help us understand LexisNexis a little bit better. I know they're part of RELX, which is a large organization, but can you tell us which part of the organization do you work for?
Yeah, you're very polite. There's a lot of words going on there, aren't there? So LexisNexis Risk Solutions is part of the RELX group. We're very proud to be part of RELX, but many people may not have heard of RELX, RELX. So it's a large listed company in London, New York, and Amsterdam, but people don't know the brand so much, although perhaps we'll be more familiar with some of our brands within RELX, such as LexisNexis or ICIS or Syrian. Large organization, and the part of the business in which I work is called Data Services, and this includes 5 of those brands and around 450 sales professionals within that group. And we sell a range of analytics and decision tools across many vertical markets. Data and analytics, as I'm sure your listeners will be all too aware, make a big difference wherever we look. And as examples, our part of the organization may be helping companies to source the most sustainable materials or navigate through complicated HR regulatory environments, or maybe work within the aviation sector to measure and improve performance and manage risk. So that's the sort of stuff we get up to, and look forward to telling you more.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. That's very helpful. I imagine you guys are quite busy. And I'm also curious, can you tell us just a little bit more about your specific role then within LexisNexis?
Yeah, happy to. So the sales performance team that I run provides sales training, enablement, supporting sales technology, and then also development for our managers, basically to try and help our sales team be the very best they can be, and of course to help customers with the wide range of business challenges they face, and so it's really making sure we're as effective, customer focused as we can be in what we do with our customers.
Such a fun and exciting role, right? To be right in the center of helping the sales organization. And I'm always curious, people who are in your type of role, Rob, how did you get into this line of work? How'd you get into sales performance?
Yeah, it's definitely not something you foresee happening, is it? So I'd
No.
worked in commercial and sales roles for a number of years, but always, I suppose, had a passion for learning, passion for developing people, and sales performance is a great intersection of those things. So it's a bit of sales, a bit of leadership, a bit of learning, even some psychology in there, I think. So I had the opportunity to transition from a commercial role into sales performance, and it's a really exciting space to be right now, as we think a little bit about the future of selling, what that looks like, emergence of AI and the global market challenges, and how we're going to really make sure we keep and upskill the best talent. So that's a bit about me. When I moved into this role around a dozen years ago, the precise title I had was called Sales Excellence. Also, the words sometimes confuse people as well. So we refer to sales performance with an emphasis on really making a difference in the performance, but sales excellence, sales enablement, sometimes those are used a bit interchangeably, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I totally agree, Rob. It's such an exciting time to be in this space. And I'm curious because you're doing so much work within LexisNexis to support your sales organization. I'm wondering if you can take us back a few steps. I'm wondering what led you and LexisNexis to decide that you wanted to invest in really building the sales capabilities of your team at this time.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I mentioned at the beginning that data services comprises numerous different brands. And it's fair to say, if we turn the clock back to years gone by, we'd operated very independently from one another within those brands. And as we look to develop and keep the very best talent, we'd really failed to maximize our opportunity to get people thinking across within our own group and to encourage mobility across data services and the broader RELX organization. So it was a focus on starting to enable our team to be a little bit more mobile and develop their careers within the organization. And we saw a big challenge and huge value in getting a more aligned approach and a common language at an organizational, but also at an individual level for those career reasons. Fair to say that although there's some special, unique magic, in our opinion, in each of our bits of the business, we were seeing many of the same challenges, many of the same opportunities in each of those different units. And so this all collectively led to a cross data services initiative to get sales teams, sales leaders, and the sales performance team where I work to work more closely together, and then to make an investment in our sales team's capabilities. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in more detail too.
Yeah, let's go there. I mean, what were some of those, if you think about your salespeople, right, out in the market, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the specific challenges that they were facing?
Yeah, so lots has changed and continues to change in our markets, and also in our expectations of what we need from our sales teams and what customers need from us. So at a high level, our organization had moved from perhaps a slightly steadier, perhaps slower moving publishing heritage, so providing data and content in that way, into something now much more dynamic and technically focused digital solutions, which are fueling decision making across organizations, and it's a lot more complex. So what does that mean? It means sales teams now need to be talking to a wider set of people, so to need to be asking those right questions to understand just where we can make a difference, and also need to be a bit more savvy to understand how data can drive competitive advantage for our customers. So different profile, different set of expectations, and the way we deliver our information has changed. So increasingly we're moving from maybe point solutions that we're used to with a user interface and login for each user, to now something which is much more integrated into our workflow, touching lots more people and more processes in an organization. So again, our sales folks need to really understand the role technology plays here, and to have more of a grasp of those things. So more complexity, a need for better understanding, and all that then has a knock-on effect on just what we need from our folks. People are still key in all of this. So we recognize that the experience that we create for our buyers is the real differentiator here. So helping to advise and guide customers who may also be learning here to work in a different way takes a certain kind of individual with the right set of skills and the right curiosity. And also the markets are tough. It's a challenging, competitive environment. So customers are taking longer to reach a decision, or maybe to reach no decision. And so we needed clear ways to be a little bit smarter, a little bit more objective in how we qualify and cut through the noise with busy prospects. So lots of stuff going on there, but in summary, lots of challenges for our sales folks, and our sales team needed to get more comfortable to truly understand, position, and quantify value. So having a value-based approach, and then to drive through those conversations and keep momentum during the engagement. So collectively, lots of things that we wanted to tackle, and we came up with a program that we think was able to do so.
Yeah, Rob, I want to underscore something you said, because I think a lot of the challenges you just talked about, so many of our customers are facing, right, within your industry, but really across all industries. And something you said that I think probably is really resonating with listeners is, it's that experience that you create for buyers that's the real differentiator. And it does take making sure that your people have the right capabilities and skills to do it. So let's go there then. Tell us a little bit more. You kind of took a nod to this. What's the training and the performance support that you and your team put in place to help your salespeople make this transition?
Yeah, happy to. So in 2023, we developed and rolled out something that we refer to as 3C selling and 3C coaching as a business transformation initiative. So each of the C's stands for a word that we expect folks to be to really embracing. So it's confidence, curiosity, and courage, and that's for our sales folks, also for our sales management. And this is a high performance, value based sales approach. Which really gets to the heart of our goal, which is to make sure that we're really helping customers to move forward in their buying journeys, and also getting folks to think maybe a little bit different about what selling and buying truly means. So it's been great to work with Richardson. So our program was built around Richardson's sprint selling approach. Why was that? We like the science and the training and tools and behavior change that are inherent within that program. And then we kind of customized that. We've added our branding. So the 3Cs thing is ours. Very proud to say that's resonated as well. And so it's been an internal and external partnership as we've worked together to customize and deliver content that we think can then make a real difference to our sellers and our customers.
Rob, I love the concept of the 3Cs. I've heard you talk about it before. I'm wondering if you can expand a little bit. I think you've kind of said, 3Cs is certainly the brand that you talked about, but it's also a mindset, right? Can you talk a little bit more about that for our listeners?
Well said. You've been listening to
I've been listening.
our repeated pitches on this stuff. Yes, of course. So we really need our sales professionals to believe and to commit to being that little bit better each day, to have that that mindset that they can really improve in just how we serve customers. And so that growth mindset is inherent. We really need to tap into that and then challenge ourselves to change our norms, establish those new habits. So this is mindset stuff. This is about taking that step, taking that commitment to ourselves to do something a little bit different, which is quite different to just saying, here's a new methodology, off you go. We're going to judge you on those different steps and processes and tools. Mindset goes a lot deeper than that, and we believe it's more powerful. So mindset change definitely trumps and is more powerful than any methodology change. So even though our program needs to give the guidance and the tuition about skills and processes and tools and all that good stuff, it's really getting folks to buy into the fact that I can be better, I can be more effective, I can be more successful, but it takes that mindset shift for folks to commit to do that.
I love that, Rob. And, I think you're so right. Having the mindset part of it is so critically important. I mean, you've really set out quite an ambitious vision here, right? To help transform your sales organization. And it's a lot of work, right? I'm sure it's been a labor of love, but I'm curious for folks who are listening to you, probably thinking, how the heck did Rob pull that off, Rob and team? So what was the most, I don't know, challenging, I guess, aspect during, implementing this vision that you all have had?
So I'll go there in just a sec. You're absolutely right.
Mm.
Very much a team effort. Thanks for the Rob and team, but really the team. It's been our leadership. It's been all the folks across the organization, sales leadership. So definitely, it's taken a full community here, and it's not just the sales and commercial functions. I think actually we've managed to excite and intrigue the wider organization about this whole change in mindset idea, and that's something that's been embraced beyond just the sales and commercial functions into something which is now almost starting to informally become a set of our values. So whatever it is that your listeners feel that they really stand for and where they want to be, it's a very powerful thing to try and tap into some of that mindset shift, and it's really been really helpful here. So coming to your question about the most challenging bit, because it has been a lot of work, I just want to emphasize that the power of that getting people's imagination and setting that vision in place has been definitely one of the things that's kept us on track and kept us moving forward. I'd say the most challenging thing through this project, though, to date, maybe we've got some more challenges stored up still to come, but it's getting individuals to buy into why should I change? Maybe I've been successful for years, decades in doing things a certain way, and maybe a little bit of skepticism about whether the organization is going to stick with this, or is this just fancy words at the global sales kickoff. So convincing people and persuading people that this is for real. We've got leadership buy-in. We're not going away, and also this is expected. This is mandated. This isn't just an opt-in, opt-out thing. So really making people and providing the evidence that we're here to stay. We're here for real, and that's been definitely something we've needed to overcome. But as we come up to 18 months into the program, I think people realize this is not just a temporary change here. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we do things.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a big key there, right, Rob, which is your leadership. I've heard from other customers that, it can be a challenge getting leaders to engage, keeping them engaged, et cetera. So I'm curious, how did you do that? How did you get your leaders to engage?
Great question. So just in case any of them are listening, I'll say the leaders have been brilliant and crucial in the success of this. But that is actually true. The leaders really bought into what we've done here. And just to take a few steps back, I mean, there's a bigger, I suppose, organizational evolution that we're talking about here, where I spoke about those brands coming together. For us, we talk about one data services. So there's a bigger picture here about starting to get more aligned, and the leaders are very much squarely driving that forward for us. So having them through the good times and the bad, keeping us on course has been great. And I think all those leaders recognized how we collectively gain as teams and as individuals by coming together. Together we're stronger. So we can learn from one another's successes, and where we make sort of mistakes along the way. It's been really good to get that leadership support to do that. But they are a discerning bunch. You asked how we got the leaders to engage and support this. They wanted to ensure that the quality of the program was where it needed to be, and what we were putting together with the combined team was going to be more impactful and more effective than just what had been happening in each of those brands beforehand. So that took a bit of time. That took a bit of interesting scratching of heads and some debates about, well, what we were doing and where we were going from and to. So taking the best of what we already do, and not starting from scratch, was important. So building upon that and reassuring the leaders that we weren't throwing out things that were already really, really working well, but then taking that delta and making things even more impressive for everybody. Took a bit of time and took a bit of negotiation in the sort of formulative stages, and then we committed to it, and everybody committed to this. Recognizing that change is tough, and so the sales leaders and managers have been at the forefront throughout. And one practical example of then how the layers of management and leadership, were right at the front of this is what we invested in their training first and foremost. So our sales leaders were the first to go through the 3C selling and the 3C coaching program. They provided feedback, some tweaks that we could make here and there in order that they were able to put their fingerprints on this and make sure it was going to work for their team. So this wasn't done to them. We were collectively working together from this. And so having that community of the leadership then actually coming together as well has been also really powerful. So perhaps spoke about the brands working more in a more siloed way in the past, then bringing together that community of sales leaders has been wonderful. And so we've really seen that go from strength to strength, where people are able to learn from best practices across a much wider pool of talent.
Great advice there, Rob, on how to get those leaders engaged and keep them engaged. I have to admit, I'm exhausted just thinking about all the work you've all been doing over the past 18 months that you've been at it. I'm wondering, it's hard to keep at something, right, and be consistent for 18 months and more. Was there, you need the wins, don't you? So I'm just wondering if there's any aha moments you had along the journey where you just really started to see your time and efforts pay off.
Yeah, great question, and yeah, I wouldn't gloss over the fact that it has been all plain sailing. There have been tough moments. We spoke in terms of a key moment, which felt like it was perhaps 6 or 9 months into this, where this was no longer new and shiny. This was no longer a novelty. This was now actually tough. You needed to be a little bit more thorough in your approach. You needed to display those characteristics: confidence, curiosity, courage. These are not necessarily easy to do when it's a tough day and the customers are saying no and the markets are not where we need them to be. So there have been some challenging times along the way here, but holding the course and making sure that we were able to make that move from knowing what we're meant to do to actually then doing it has definitely needed our leaders to stay true with us, which they have done so. So that's been really important, just to acknowledge the fact that this is not easy stuff to do. Change is hard. But to go to your question about the aha moment, I suppose there's been many fabulous stories that we've been able to share and hear, whether that's on stage in an event or just informally, where people have spoke about the positive impact this approach was having with our customers. Those examples have been wonderful and great to hear. For me personally, though, I've actually just loved hearing and seeing the individual learning journeys. So the people taking those individual journeys in all of this. And so examples of just being in our communal kitchen in one of the offices, or being at a sales event at the bar later on, and hearing people's conversations, reaching out to one another across those brands with stories about how they're developing their skills together. That's been the big aha moment for me, is seeing how bringing people together as a collective is really helping to drive up, where we're all able to go together.
Yeah, so important when you're working for such a large dispersed organization, right? And so folks are many of us working virtually, it's nice to make those connections and hear those important stories. I think, Rob, you've talked a lot about this. You're about driving, change and helping your salespeople, but ultimately also it's about driving better performance in the business. I'm wondering what, measurable improvements maybe you've seen in your team's performance since they've gone through this journey with you.
Yeah, the word measurable strikes fear into most folks in roles such as mine. Show us the ROI and why we
Yeah.
should be really investing time and effort here versus other places. But this is one of those programs where there really has been that measurable performance improvement, which is great, and kind of what we instinctively felt was happening. But we're now able to start to see that. So I talked about the fact there's testimonials galore from sales team about the impact, positive impact of applying these approaches and adopting this mindset. That's great. And so we can actually start to capture and share some of those examples and see what's repeatable and where people can be coached by peers and so on. That's been fantastic. But then as far as making a difference where it matters most, which is with customers, we're now in a place where we can start to correlate some of these behaviors that we've encouraged people, mandated people to start applying, and to actually correlate that with the actual business performance. What's it meant as far as the progress of some of these deals and closed wins and all that good stuff. So that's using some of our sales enablement tech and analytics. We're starting to be able to do that in parts of our organization, not across the board yet, but that's been wonderful to start to be able to back up what we felt was really good with some hard data and evidence. What does that mean? It's where we're actually start to see that where customers or where our sellers are using certain phrases and language and behaving in a certain way, that was then leading to certain next steps and business outcomes. That's been fantastic to help just really convince everybody and reassure all of us that this is leading to real performance improvements.
That's exciting, Rob. I'm curious too, you said a little bit earlier, it's not new and shiny anymore, right? Now you're in some of the hard business of measuring and that's exciting work, but for your sellers out in the field, I'm curious how you keep them, motivated and interested in continuing this journey and maintain that high morale, given that it's not new and shiny anymore.
Yeah, great question again. You got some good questions.
Thanks,
So
Rob.
recognizing first and foremost that this is tough, recognizing this is not some easy change to make is important, and that continues to be the case. We've got new individuals coming on board. We've got people, struggling on a day-to-day basis with many situations, and so recognizing this is not easy to do is important. And so when people go out of the comfort zone to make the steps to improve themselves, and it may not always be successful the first or second time around, we champion those. We really applaud and we recognize people making that effort. So that's the first part of the motivation message, I'd say, is really recognizing this isn't easy, but well done, and we've got your back, and well done for giving it a go, and we'll continue to support you on this. Try and make things engaging and fun, and sharing those successes should be fun and motivating for everybody. So in places we can gamify this and add a bit of a competitive element. Believe it or not, sales folks are a competitive bunch, and they like those sorts of things. So then we just try and focus on the positives and some of those inspiring success stories, which are more and more available to us, about where we're making a difference in front of the customer is definitely the right way to keep people engaged and motivated.
Yeah. Rob, you've given us such great insight and advice throughout our discussion so far. So I just have one last question for you as we're coming close to wrapping up here. And that is there any additional advice, or how would you kind of net it out for our listeners that you would give to, folks who are in maybe a similar role to you or other sales leaders? What have you learned, and what's some of the best pieces of advice you'd give?
Oh yeah, big one to close on. So, but probably be ambitious, think big, and what sort of thing that might mean is what do you truly stand for as an organization? What's your vision? Where are you trying to take things? And that's not just a sales performance or a sales question. This is getting to the real heart of where your organization wants to be. So really start thinking about what's going to inspire people and stamp your identity on the program about why this tough change is worthwhile, because look at this fantastic vision we've got about where we want to be, and establishing that we've got a differentiated vision about where we're going here, and that straight away is going to inspire and interest and open people's minds to the journey they're now going to take, because the journey is not necessarily going to be easy, but what a brilliant place we're collectively going to in the future. So spending a bit of time around that, and we can call it vision or talking about the journey, or whichever words seem to work to talk about that long journey. Spoke about the early successes and the early adopters, and really recognizing those throughout has been super important to start to get people to really embrace this and want to be part of that peloton, wanting to be at the front. And sort of leading the pack's been really important. Focusing on the individual. This can't just be something that corporate is doing to them, but really tapping into some of the inspirational messages that will definitely be there in whichever program we're referring to that your listeners may have in mind. What's that inspiration to get people to commit to change, really commit to change, in order that they can be even better at what they do? So in some cases, if this is not right, then perhaps this is going to mean it's time to face facts. This is not for you, but really setting out, this is the vision. We want you to be part of it. We're excited about it, but now we need you to commit and to opt in. And finally, just think about what it is you can do to make this exciting. Change is hard, so make this inspiring, make this worthwhile, and recognizing that talent is our biggest differentiator. So investing in that talent is so worthwhile. Let's just get our team to be thinking, wow, I can really get better at what I do. I've got the support of my organization to do that. Now I'm up for this, and I want to be the best version of myself. So that's inspiring stuff, and confident folks can get there.
Rob, thanks so much. I mean, you've laid out such a strong and bold vision. I know I'm personally excited to keep watching you and the team and seeing your success as you go on. So thank you so much, Rob, for sharing all of your insights today. I know that our listeners will find your advice and your experience extremely valuable. And if you'd like to connect with Rob or reach out to him with any of your questions, you can find him on LinkedIn at Rob Arnold. And thank you, of course, to all of our listeners for tuning in today. For more sales tips and best practices, please check us out on LinkedIn at Richardson Sales Performance.